No, there's a lot of different things in the Bible that, are the reason behind the way I think.
Yeah.
Just good and also in modern day bad.
It's good
You sure?
for the most part.
For the most part? What's most of the part and what's the other part?
Oh, there's like
Tell the world.
no. Um okay, I think you align yourself with a lot of everything, right? Like you live your life by Old Testament and New Testament, but I think sometimes you get, and this is just, we grew up different
Of
denominations,
course, yeah.
different beliefs, okay? They think that like this was something instilled in you at such a young age that you're gonna, continue to live like this and then instill this in your kids or whatever. So I think like some of the Old Testament stuff, sometimes you can be a little like, it's law, you know?
But by what means? Point something out. Because we did
We didn't talk about
previously talk about how it's relevant,
yeah.
but with the equivalence relevance with the New Testament, because Jesus does speak about the
Yeah.
old stuff.
Um I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is pork.
Yeah, but like, what was my rebuttal to, hey, you shouldn't eat pork?
Well, it's not good for you, just in general, biblically and not,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That Jesus says, again, words of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
it's not what impurifies you, what comes in your mouth, but what comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And in emphasis or like parentheses in Mark, he says, in saying this, he cleansed all meats.
Mm.
Like literally verbatim.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what does that mean? Again, I read the Old Testament and New Testament. Both are relevant.
I think we've talked about this before, but let me pick your brain again because I don't remember exactly what the Bible says about women teaching in the church. Thoughts?
Paul?
I don't remember the exact like context. I just know that a lot of Christians, at least that I've met, a lot of more old-fashioned men are like women shouldn't preach. That's
Right. And then again, everything is context when you read it. Should women teach? That's the question that, we have to answer. And then we go to, I believe it's Romans. Could be incorrect here. Actually, it might be Romans or Peter. Let me see. But in short, basically, John is like, I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. Near verbatim, but let me just see.
You said John said that?
Paul.
Paul.
But, to understand what Paul is saying, we have to understand the time and then who Paul actually is. Are these the direct words from God? Because in his text, sometimes he says, I'm saying this of my own accord, not from God.
Yeah.
He literally verbatim says, this is what I think and say versus what God actually has instilled.
Yeah.
And it's just a general advice. He was a preacher and teacher. He was one of the top guys in Judea. So like he literally learned the scriptures verbatim. He was perfect. He followed the law to a T. Like if you were to talk about a perfect man, it would be Paul, according to what the Hebrews were like believing in, like Pharisees, their Pharisee laws.
Ooh, we should deep dive on like Paul, but Saul.
Paul, but Saul? Exactly. So he was Saul, so he kept those instilled beliefs in his future. That's why he speaks in a very intelligent, philosophical way. His philosophy at that time was, peak. And if you're a scholar, if your job is to study the scriptures, you're going to be educated. Paul was extremely educated. And then when you look at just the women in the society and culture, they weren't allowed to be educated. So if Paul is just this super smart guy, knows everything, why would he allow a woman to teach? But, because they weren't educated. Like, why would you let someone that's not educated teach another person? But at the same time, you'll find in the other scriptures is that there was a prophetess where he told her to teach. So, like, is Paul contradicting himself in a sense? But who is he speaking to when he's letting them know, hey, I don't permit a woman to teach? Is he saying, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think a woman should teach? Maybe in that context. Or is it law from God where, like you had mentioned, some Christians, older Christians, old people, nowadays are like, oh, a woman shouldn't be a pastor, or
There's
a
still
woman
some
shouldn't
younger
teach.
ones too. Like,
Of
I can't
course.
tell you how many times my mom has heard that. Because my dad is very much like, we are the pastors of this church, not just me, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll like bring her up on stage, have her like pray. He's had her preach before, and people had a problem with it
Mm-hmm.
because she's a woman. So it's like, I think a lot of Christians, and I'm not putting everybody under this, thing, but there are still a lot of Christians that have sexist beliefs because of certain things that the Old
Sure.
Testament says.
By what in the Old Testament? It's the New Testament that they use for that.
Not that, but look at me like
What?
the other things, like women should be, raising the kids.
They should be raising the kids for sure. Oh, you don't want to raise your children?
Of
I
course I
want to
do, but
raise my children.
I'm going to be working.
So you're not going to be raising your kids
I
at
am
all?
going to raise my kids.
You're like, I don't want to raise my kids. Like, what type of attitude is that? That's not
Of
loving.
course I want to raise my children. Of course I do, but that's out of like I want, like, something in my heart. I want to raise my kids.
Of course. But when we talk like, sexism or feminism, this is a whole other topic of like what has arose literally in the last 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Just the last 100 years. And is it relevant to today? Of what's in the Bible? Of course, but you'll have people that use it for their own advantage. Oh, I'm a man, so like shut up, to their
Mm-hmm.
wives, and you need to listen to me. It's love, when you have like a relationship, of course, if the man is, providing and caring and loving, then of course, the woman is going to love and listen her partner as well. And now, if if the wife is, serving and caring and loving as well, the man will do his part and provide at the same time. It's a relationship. You know, again, feminism. We can, as a whole, we can just deep dive in terms of like
Yeah.
what is the mindset behind it, like the empowerment. Of course, women do have power. We are in fact equal in the eyes of God, but people will use any sort of sayings to their own advantage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and we look at it recently, there is just a conflict between men and women. Why? Why should there ever be a conflict? There's supposed to be a convergence. You're supposed to unite. There's supposed to be a unity between both. But when we look at all these ideologies that have been instilled in society, specifically America, it's you're to oppose. Why? Split sides and have opposition. And then guess what? You're never going to get along. Guess why the divorce rates are so high? I mean, multiple different reasons, but
Yeah.
again, that's just what the things we were trending. But what we were talking about before was, First Timothy. I found it. First Timothy 8 to no, sorry, First Timothy chapter 2, 8 to 15. It says, "I desire therefore that the men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. In like manner also that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with propriety and moderation, not with braided hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly clothing, but which is proper for women professing godliness with good works. Professing godliness with good works. Let a woman learn in silence with all submission. And I don't permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man, but to be in silence. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman, being deceived, fell into transgression. Nevertheless, she will be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, love, and holiness with self control." So I think, even so, for example, if I'm reading this, everybody's reading this in a different way. Why? Because of tone and because of purpose. If I was like, let a woman learn in silence with all submission, I don't permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, but be in silence. If I was like using this in a derogatory way, in a sexist way, of course it's like, well, I don't think women should teach, that you shouldn't do that. But it's more so of like, again, the context,
Yeah.
I guess.
I feel like a bad Christian for saying this, but I 100% have a bone to pick with that entire verse.
Okay.
Like it is.
Thoughts?
Oh, gets my.
Ooh, thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, very thought provoking. Well, I know, like, it says women need to learn in silence, right? In the Bible, it says to submit to your husband.
Mm.
There's also a verse, I can't quote it off the top of my head. I don't remember where it is, but that women should not cut their hair. And these are things that some people still believe. Now, that verse there just screams sexism to me. And I hate saying that because that's the word of God, but it's like, and I'm not trying to be like feminist, like women do everything, but like, I don't know. It just, the reason that there's so much like opposition right now between just in society between women and men is that women have felt literally suffocated by men and by the expectations that they have of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we don't act a certain way, look a certain way, serve our man, even though he's undeserving of
Mm-hmm.
being served, then we are less than, we're not worthy, all of that. So that's just in general with the world. But that verse,
Agreed, exactly.
I don't know.
Because the women are suffering. Why? Because the man is not doing his job correctly. Of course, why would a woman want to listen to or submit herself? And we can obviously change the word submit to like understand, or we can actually look up the real root word of what submission means in a context. Why would a woman ever listen to a man that is lazy, that's dishonest, that's a cheater, that's an adulterer, that's a piece of shit? Of
Mm-hmm.
course not. That's no excuse. And again, in a lot of marriages, you'll see that, well, you need to listen to me because I'm the man. Technically, you're not. Technically, you're a bitch. Technically, you're a piece of shit
Yeah.
because whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, if a man is doing the manly things, providing for the household, being kind, just being an excellent person, why wouldn't in return the woman just, you could say submit, but just like listen to the man, like a guy, typically, ideally, and this is of course my opinion, we could talk about some feminism, but like the man should be a leader. Like if you look at a good leader, I mean a woman could be a leader as well, but typically a man should be, say, the leader of the house, make those decisions. It's like if you ask, say, some of those videos on the side of the street where you approach like a random person, it's like, what do you think like a good man is? Like, oh, like a hot man is, he's going to be successful, he's going to be a good speaker, he's going to be able to take charge, he's going to be the boss, he's going to be um, smart, intelligent, all these things. And then so if that's missing, of course you're not going to listen to him, of course you're not going to submit. So it's those characteristics is what define a man instead of like a child. Some people do act like a child. It doesn't make, in terms of like, say, like this context, this is how I view this.
Mm-hmm.
People can make their arguments however they want. Oh, like you have to submit just because there's a gender difference. I think it's a character difference. Being a man is this. That's the definition. Or being a woman is that. And so if you're not following those characteristics, then this math equation doesn't make sense. So if, say the man is, watching, I don't know, Barbie, are you gonna is and he's like, hey, make me a sandwich. Sure, you're not gonna respect. You're not gonna
If a man says, "Make me a sandwich," I don't care what they're
you're
doing.
not gonna
No.
respect him at all. But like if say he just bought you a house, or like he just you saw him playing with your children, it's like, oh my gosh, you know he's so amazing. Or like even for the man, viewpoints with the woman, like, oh, like, she's so gorgeous, I want to do so much for him, like buy her a gift. And it's just like, yeah, I'm just giving that an example.
Yeah.
It could be you, it could be anything. Say the man is like, hey, can you do this for me? And then out of love, she's probably gonna listen. In the same situation, if she asked him out of love, he will also listen. It's more so like when you look at it, would you, okay, well, I'll ask you this. Would you prefer a man that doesn't make, the good decisions? Or, well, sorry, I'll rephrase this. Like, would you prefer a man who, you know, lets you make all the decisions and, has no say? He's like, yeah, do whatever. Or would you have or prefer a man where you can like, okay, I don't have to worry about anything because I trust my man, I trust everything that he does, and I trust his leadership, I trust his insight.